Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Big roster updates going down yesterday, but also in terms of how good these teams are looking in their practice so far of the new rosters that have been formed. 100 Thieves coach Zix, of course, formerly of Evil Geniuses, when they won the World Championship last year, says that 100 Thieves are looking really good in their practice so far, with a very interesting roster they have seemingly built. How good are they going to look compared to the other competition? Where are they going to sit in the North American standings and really the Americas in general going into the new year? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. First of all, this is ISO. Now, the funny thing is, this is clearly a graphic that was intended to be released by Riot themselves. This was straight up leaked by DRX's Twitter account. I don't know what they were thinking of, to be honest, because I know that we saw a screenshot of this yesterday, what ISO was looking like, and then the DRX Twitter account just straight up leaked it before then it got deleted. So, here we go. Obviously, discussions on who this character looks like. But I do want to mention quickly on just what the character might do. So, say what you like about the character, whether he's going to be any good or not. But almost every single agent in the game, for their character picture, which is like this, but for the other players, they are usually carrying some sort of weapon that is purchasable in the game. Either it'll be a Vandal or it'll be a Ghost, for example, like Jet has the Ghost, Reyna has the Vandal. That's pretty much what they do. And every single character is holding a weapon that is purchasable, apart from, I believe, Chamber, who is holding his own weapon, right? He's holding his own, like, rifle operator type thing, that tour de force, that's what they call it. So, that's what's going on there with Chamber. But for ISO, he's holding this thing, which also seems to be kind of like his own personal weapon. So there's been talk about what this is going to be, how he's going to work as a duelist. I know that there's been some rumors that he might be operating in like a Soldier 76 way from Overwatch, where his weapon will like auto lock. I don't know if I want to see that, but we'll see what they decide to do here. But this is the agent. I think we're going to find out today probably what some of his things actually do. Of course, there's the classic reaction from pros such as Vanity to this one. Now, moving on in terms of roster stuff, we do have an update here from Loud confirming. So Les confirms that he is renewing his deal at Loud for 2024. Les has been in some, not exactly controversy, but there's been some questions about Les because apparently Aspas and Les didn't necessarily get on so well, and maybe it's the friction with Les that's causing some of the coaching staff that Loud have had to disappear. But yeah, of course, Sadak is going to stay. They believe they're going to take a step forward over there at Loud, but it's going to be difficult, right? I mean, they've lost Aspas. They've lost over the last couple of years Sassy Pancada, so for them to maintain their level is going to be a challenge, but they did very well at the World Championship still this season, coming top 3 given the circumstances. And also Cowan also confirms that, well, he basically says in this video, I'm pretty sure that he's also confirming his future on the Loud organization going forward. So all makes sense. Congratulations to those guys. Hopefully it works out for the team going forward. Also a bit of drama. So XDLL here, this player from Fennel, has been temporarily suspended from their Valorant team and will not be playing. So Fennel is a team that's going to the Red Bull Homegrounds tournament starting in early November. This player, Japanese player, of course, and he's been suspended for smurfing. And, well, also playing on another person's account. And the big part about this is pretty much, boosting other players and things like this aren't allowed. Now, there's a question as to whether in certain regions this is considered somewhat differently. I think that, definitely out there in Asian regions, if you're doing stuff like this, it's much more frowned upon maybe than it is, let's say, in North America. But nonetheless, this player has been, banned, basically, by their roster for smurfing. I can't imagine that's a massive deal, but maybe it is region dependent as to whether this is, because there's plenty of players notable players in and around the league, in the Americas or whatever, that have smurfed at some point. But I imagine it's more so the boosting or account sharing and stuff that is definitely not allowed by Riot anyway, and definitely frowned upon by the organization that this has occurred. But nonetheless, it's pretty interesting, right, that they're, suspended their own player and they're going to need to find a replacement for this. Maybe it's what they think is right, and maybe it well is, and I think it's arguably that we should be frowning upon this stuff and punishing players that do so to ensure that others don't replicate a similar thing in the future. But still, a big update there. Now, Fennel aren't exactly expected to be a big contender going into the Red Bull Homegrounds, but there are some great teams there. Fnatic are going to be there, Cloud9 are going to be there, DRX are going to be there. There's also 100 Thieves are going to be there, and we'll get onto them in a second, how good they might be presently looking. Couple of quick things on G2. G2 G2 are very keen to set up a show match with Sentinels. We know that Sentinels on Monday are playing up against a Moist X Shopify Rebellion, so that kind of new partner team, well, new partnership, they're not a partner team, they're going to be starting in Tier 2 and grinding through challenges and trying to succeed. And as Zelta says, I'll leak your 5th if your entire team doesn't give me 5 subs in the next 12 hours. And as well, Zelta then said, I'll announce G2's 5th. Now, it's going to be either Jorgamo or Leaf. It depends what the circumstances are. There was this tweet as well, actually, from Jorgamo yesterday, where to next? And Valin says to Prak, you said today was my day off. So we don't know what's happening here. I imagine that Jorgamo has definitely at least trialed and played with the G2 guys. The belief is that he is still the favourite to get that position on G2. We know that Tex was there. He's now gone to Leviathan. So good that Tex has something locked down, because there was a time where I was wondering where Tex was going to go. To be honest, I thought that Tex to NRG was a reasonable option, but that's no longer the case, and that's leaving NRG in increasing amounts of difficulty, it seems, at the present day, as we discussed yesterday. But yeah, Jorgamo and Valin having a back and forth on Twitter, kind of implying that there is at least something going on here quite significantly. And yeah, Jorgamo, you think, is the favourite. Whether they work that out with EG, we don't know. A few days ago now, we saw tweets from Demon1 and from Ethan and from others implying that something had happened, but even as of today, we don't know for sure. But yeah, this tweet maybe implies that he's going to be going somewhere else. I think there's a good chance that G2 do make this happen, just because G2, of all the teams in the league, have some of the most money to burn. It's not quite the Bleed esports situation in the Pacific. They're simply next level. But G2, we're pretty sure that the G2 players, Valin and the other guys, are getting paid more than the vast majority of teams in the Americas, or really just in the VCT in general. Like Evil Geniuses, the world champions, are going to get paid less this year, I think there's no doubt about it, than the Ascension winners in the Guard now become G2. This is kind of what Riot wanted to avoid, is teams coming in and starting effectively a bidding war for the team that wins Ascension. But given the circumstances, that's simply how it's going to be. I don't really think there's any avoiding that. And, well, the G2 team are capitalizing on what apparently are pretty mega salaries given the circumstances. So G2 have money to spend here in Valorant to try and be competitive, because at the end of the day, as we've mentioned before, if G2, who are not currently a partner team, but they are now the 11th team in the guest slot, if they prove themselves to be very competitive, they're going to make a compelling case to Riot to ensure that they are becoming a partner team in the future. This is what you've got to try and do if you're a guest slot team, is try and prove to Riot during the course of those 2 seasons you get that you are better as a partner than some of the other teams they have partnered. And if G2 can prove that by being competitive and by taking it seriously, then they can potentially secure themselves the bag and the stipend and the other benefits of being a partner team in the medium to longer term. Is getting Jorgamo part of that? Quite possibly, yes. If they don't get him, they probably try and get Leaf. And we might have an answer to that question relatively soon. Now, let's talk 100 Thieves. So, 100T, they started practice this Monday. Zix, of course, was formerly League of Legends guy for 100 Thieves. Then he went to become assistant coach for Evil Geniuses last year, won that World Championship, and now he is the head coach of 100 Thieves Valorant with Mike's HD, who is probably somewhat overstretched last year, let's be honest, as the assistant coach. Now, as Zix says, scrims are going good, can't wait for Tokyo. Now, I guess technically this should be well, because, good is the adjective, well is the adverb, meaning, going in a satisfactory manner. So, whatever. English lesson over, but the point is nonetheless well received. That scrims indeed are going particularly well, and you don't usually see this from the coach himself or the players. Usually it's the players they play against that will say, 100 Thieves, they're going to be winning champions, or they're going to be winning XYZ, but maybe not. This time it's from the coach himself that says that the scrims are going well, looking forward to Tokyo. So very interesting given what their roster might be. We get a couple of interesting replies here. Firstly from Asuna, who says, literally can't speak, apparently he is, under the weather or something's going on with Asuna. You're saying scrims are going well. Might have to just no com next year. No, it's more indicative of how insane we will be with your comms later on. So apparently, like Asuna, maybe he's lost his voice or something, I don't know. Can't communicate so well. And they're still cooking whoever they're playing against in scrims at the moment. And even as Leaf then says, my prediction for top 20 players, Asuna number 1, Bang number 2. So maybe Leaf was practicing with somebody, who knows, and was getting beaten up by this new 100T roster. And to be fair, 100T typically look really good when the game, when they start to play. It happened last year as well. They were looking really good. They won the Red Bull home ground in Manchester, and then when the season began, they were just very much underwhelming. They still have some incredible pieces, right? There's no doubt that Cryo, Bang, Asuna is an incredible on-paper trio. They just didn't capitalize the best with their roster they had last season. Make a couple of changes. EU is coming in from M80, and the final player, this is where things are very interesting, because we're pretty sure they want Boostio, and as I said the other day, if they can get Boostio in January when his contract is at an end, they might well try and do that. But let's say Nature does a really good job here as the IGL, then he can secure his spot on this team. So I like what they're trying to do. I like the fact that they haven't completely blown up their team, because you could imagine 100 Thieves could have said, you know what, Cryo, or, I guess they wouldn't have said it to Cryo, but Bang, or even to Asuna, they could have been like, you know what, guys, we're going to go a different direction. But they're keeping the majority of the core, which I think is wise, because there's some potential there, in the same way that Sentinels last year didn't have a good year, but that core still has potential, because you saw it, especially when Marved was in the team as well. So I get it what they're doing, and especially if 100 Thieves are taking a slightly more budget-oriented approach as they seem to be, this is probably wise, and apparently is working out well for them. And how well will they do, though, come the Red Bull home grounds? Because as we've said, they're not necessarily playing with their ideal roster. There's a good chance that they would have preferred to have on that team Boostio. That might not be the case as it stands. And they are playing against very stiff competition at that event. As I say, there's the likes of Fnatic, there's the likes of DRX. I think Cloud9 are going to be there as well. Cloud9 are on this full Worlds tour, it seems, at the moment. I will also mention quickly, what about... I do wonder what's going to happen with Som and FNS. They're a duo, and there was some time where I thought that if there was one team that would be interested in potentially getting Som and FNS, it might be 100 Thieves. I think it would have made quite a lot of sense. The issue is, I'm guessing, is that Som and FNS want a certain amount of salary, because, they're going to want a amount of money that makes it worth it for them to actually play rather than just to stream. So I get it from that point of view. And, Som even replies to this on, so I don't know, it'd be interesting if at some point Som and FNS were to duo up on 100 Thieves, but, they would have to, FNS effectively wanted the entire control of the team in order to make that happen, whereas he wouldn't necessarily be getting that. So, yeah, I don't expect that to be the case, but it's one to keep your eyes on, I guess, going forwards. But Cloud9, they are an interesting team to watch here, because they are, as I say, doing a complete world tour at the moment. There's this Superdome or Superdome LATAM tournament coming up kind of soon, with Crew Esports, Leviathan, Furia, and Cloud9. So Cloud are literally everywhere right now. Hopefully this goes well for all teams. Hopefully they try. 10th of November, this is kicking off. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how they get on here, because yeah, Crew, Leviathan, Furia, Cloud9 will be interesting to see how these teams fare. Of course, all franchise level teams, and we'll see if Cloud9 and of course 100 Thieves start off the season as well as they did last year, before things for both teams quite quickly fell apart. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.